The next dignitary to arrive will be the Chief Justice, Sir Dennis Williams, and once again the general salute will be played.
I have another announcement. Another band concert, this time rendered by the 2nd Battalion, the Royal Canadian Regiment, will take place at 2 p.m. this time at Granville Adams Memorial School grounds in St. Joseph. At 3 p.m., Granville Adams Memorial School grounds, St. Joseph, will listen to the concert provided by 2nd Battalion, the Royal Anglian Regiment.
There we see some of our visiting dignitaries.
I must say, Captain Bostic, seems to me that our military forces have come a considerable distance from the days of the Barbados Volunteer Force. What would you say is the significant difference between when we had a volunteer force and what we have today, apart from perhaps better equipment?
Well, today I think the soldiers are much more professional in their approach to military life. They are better trained as a result of new opportunities. And generally speaking, there's a higher degree of professionalism in all spheres.
Here comes now, this is the Chief Justice, Sir Dennis Williams, I think.
Yes, this is Sir Dennis Williams, our Chief Justice. The Chief Justice is being greeted by the Chief of Staff and the Commissioner of Police, and he is accompanied by his wife, Lady Williams. There is a Lieutenant Colonel Dighton Maynard, the new Deputy Chief of Staff of the Barbados Defence Force. The parade has been stood at ease, and we await the arrival of the Prime Minister, the Honourable Erskine Sandiford. When the Prime Minister arrives, he will be given a fanfare followed by a general salute.
You would say then that our forces are second to none in the world, then?
I think our forces try very, very hard to do the best they can and to live up to the motto of excellence. What you're witnessing here today is a parade being put on mainly by the reserve element of the Barbados Defense Force. These men and women all have their civilian occupations, and they give freely of their time and effort in order to do things like this. I receive Lieutenant Colonel Leighton Maynard and Lieutenant Colonel Harold Blackman, the Commandant of the Barbados Cadet Corps. Here we see the guards being very steady on parade. This comes after weeks of very intensive training. This is the discipline of the regiment. There you see the officer commanding the escort, Captain Alan Batson.
So what now are the regiment's principal duties?
The regiment is the reserve infantry of the Barbados Defense Force. Among the principal duties are internal security, national ceremonials such as this, and community service. The regiment participates every year in the crossover activities assisting the National Cultural Foundation in many events. The regiment consists of part-time soldiers who train on Thursdays, 1 weekend a month, and 2 weeks of continuous training every year.
Do they have much contact with other forces in the Caribbean, say like Jamaica, Trinidad, whatever?
Yes, in fact, some members of the regiment have been trained in Jamaica by the Jamaica Defense Force, and this training is ongoing. There we see the escort for the Prime Minister, the Honorable Erskine Sandiford. The band will sound a fanfare as the Prime Minister approaches. Then the parade will be brought to the present and the general salute will be played. The Prime Minister has as his aide-de-camp Acting Sub-Lieutenant Ricardo Sherlin of the Coast Guard Squadron of the Barbados Defense Force. There you see the Prime Minister being led to the saluting dais, and his wife, Mrs. Sandiford, being escorted to her seat by Lieutenant Colonel Harold Blackman.
General salute! Present! Up! Guards! Shoulder!
parade has been stood at ease, and we now await the arrival of His Excellency the Governor General. As His Excellency's procession enters the parade ground, fanfare will be sounded, and the parade will then be brought to the present, and the Governor General will be accorded the royal salute. The Governor General, as head of state, is given the royal salute, and the national anthem is played.
As we await the arrival of our Governor General, I'd like you to note, after the parade, all white guests may take
There we see the mounted escort of the mounted troop of the Royal Barbados Police Force. They are being led by Inspector Brereton, and they will escort His Excellency onto the parade square.
When the Governor General arrives at the council, please now stand and remain standing until our Governor General moves to
There we see the mounted troop looking very colorful, performing the duty. His Excellency Sir Hugh Springer, Governor General of Barbados. His Excellency is accompanied by his aide-de-camp, Captain Kingsley Jones of the Barbados Coast Guard.
Royal salute! Present! Guards! Shoulder! Out! Order! Out!
The Governor General has just been accorded the royal salute, and the parade commander will report to His Excellency and invite him to inspect the parade.
Your Excellency, Lieutenant Colonel Quintin, commanding a parade comprising 25 officers, 504 other ranks. Guards are drawn from the Barbados Regiment, Commando Squadron of the Barbados Defence Force, bands and drums of the Barbados Regiment, the Royal Barbados Force, the Royal Anglian Regiment, and the Jamaica Military Band. The groundkeepers are drawn from the Barbados Cadet Corps. We await the honour of your inspection, sir.
The parade commander has reported, and we await now the arrival of the ceremonial Land Rover, which will take His Excellency onto the parade square. The ceremonial Land Rover being used today was first used by Her Majesty the Queen at the Youth Rally at the National Stadium during her last official visit to Barbados. Accompanying His Excellency on the inspection will be the Chief of Staff, the Commissioner of Police, the Parade Commander, and His Excellency's aide-de-camp, Captain Kingsley Jones.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
His Excellency will inspect the front rank of the parade, and he will pay his compliments as he passes the colours.
During the inspection, the mass band will first play Island in the Sun by Irving Berge, and then This by Keaton Wiltshire.
The tunes for the inspection are Island in the Sun by Irving Berge and Bim by Stetson Wilshire. There we see the Jamaica Military Band and members of the Barbados Cadet Corps who are keeping the grounds this afternoon. His Excellency begins his inspection of the parade, starting with the escort guard led by Captain Madam Matson. No doubt the troops on parade are all well turned out for this occasion. The high standard attained resulting from hours of preparation of uniforms, close attention to detail. This careful preparation and close attention to detail are taken onto the battlefield and in many cases determine how long a soldier survives in battle. Guards are perfectly at attention, signifying the high degree of discipline within the unit. The Excellency has concluded the inspection and is now returning to the saluting flight. color being trooped today is the Queen's color of the Barbados Regiment. This is the first time that this color is being trooped. The new colors were presented to the regiment by Her Royal Highness the Princess Margaret on the garrison Savannah on Saturday the 22nd of February 1981. The old colors of the regiment are laid up in St. Matthias Church. These had been presented to the regiment by Her Royal Highness the Princess Mary, Princess Royal on the 23rd of February 1953. The Princess Royal was honorary colonel of the Barbados Regiment until her death. The last time colours were trooped in Barbados was on the 19th of February 1975 in the presence of Her Majesty the Queen. This was the occasion on which Sir Garfield Sobers was knighted on the garrison Savannah.
Your Excellency, I have your permission to carry on, sir.
In a few minutes, the mass bands on parade will troop in slow and quick time.
Shortly, the mass band will troop. They will go across the parade square in salute of the Queen's color. As soon as the bands have completed their troop, one drummer will break off and go to the right of the line of the men.
Heads! Heads! Tread!
The parade is brought to attention, and the senior drum major on parade, Drum Major Rodney Beckles, will give the orders for the band to advance.
Mark one and drums! By the center! Slow! March!
Drum Major Rodney Beckles gives the orders. Slow march of course. There we see the glamour of the mass bands. Very colorful display. We have Drum Major Rodney Beckles up front. On the right is Drum Major David Dumbleton of the Royal Anglian Regiment Band. Drum Major Samuel Hunt of the Royal Barbados Police Force Band, and Drum Major Norman Beckles of the Jamaica Military Band. The tenth drummer twirling his stick. masked bands will move in quick time, and one of the drummers will march towards the escort guard to beat the drummer's call. They are off in quick time. The tune is of course Trident of Devonshire by Mr. Kenrick Moore, the director of music of the Royal Irish Police Force Band and the director of music of the mass bands. There we see the drummer, Lance Corporal Timothy of the Barbados Regiment. He is marching towards the escort to beat the drummer's call. Lance Corporal Timothy has been associated with the Barbados Regiment since 1968, and in fact, he beat the drummer's call on the Trooping the Colour Parade in 1975 on the Garrison Savannah. The drummer's call is the traditional signal for the officers of the escort to take post and the collection of the colours to commence. Conducting the band to his tune, Trident of Devonshire. There we have the drummer's call being played by Lance Corporal Timothy and the officers of the escort prepare for the collection of colours. There the captain of the escort has handed command temporarily over to the lieutenant commanding the escort.
Dressing them, militarily speaking, of course, before he commands them.
The lieutenant commanding the escort is Lieutenant Victor Etienne of the Barbados Regiment.
Escort for the color. By the left. We march.
There we see the mass bands doing the escort is being commanded by Lieutenant Victor Etienne with the sword who's out front, and the ensign carrying the colors is the most junior commissioned officer in the regiment, the Second Lieutenant Tony Olton with the white cross belt. The fact that the escort is commanded by a lieutenant is a tribute to youth and a symbol of the responsibility which youth is expected to assume. As we approach the 21st anniversary of the independence of our nation, perhaps we should pay tribute to our young people, and as our country comes of age, so should our youth realize that they too will come of age, and one day, like Lieutenant Etienne, will have to assume the mantle of leadership within the various sectors of our society. There we see the Queen's color, presently carried by Sergeant Branch. The regimental sergeant major has drawn his sword in order to receive the colors. This is the only occasion on which the regimental sergeant major draws his sword. This is in order that he may pay full honor when saluting the colors before returning them to the custody of an officer.
This ceremonial occasion is the only time that the regimental sergeant major draws his sword. The reason for this is obvious in that now the soldier responsible for the protection of the Queen's colors.
There the ensign, Second Lieutenant Olton saluting the color. There we see the Queen's color with our national colors and symbol, and the words of Barbados Regiment circle with a one in the middle representing the 1st Battalion. The escort guard is now referred to as the escort to the color, having received the colors.
Escort, hold the color! Change right at your left! Left! Forward!
The escort to the color now preparing to march through the ranks of the other guards to the tune of the Grenadiers' Slow March. the Queen's Scholar will pass along the front rank, affording all of the soldiers on parade the opportunity of seeing the color. This ceremony, though simple, is a very moving one. Sergeant Williams out front and Sergeant Felician. The escort moves into the position now to begin the trooping of the color. Guards pay due respect to the colors by presenting arms. And here now the colors being trooped. Each soldier on parade being given the opportunity of seeing the Queen's color. Perhaps as they look, they will be reaffirming their commitment and their dedication to the color and to the regiment. On the 30th of November, as our national flag is raised, all Barbadians perhaps should be like these soldiers, reaffirming their allegiance to their country and flag. What you're witnessing is a very important occasion for soldiers past and present. Here the visible symbol of the invisible spirit of the regiment now moves before the eyes of the soldiers. The feeling is very aptly described by Sir Edward Hamley, who says, "A moth-eaten rag on a worm-eaten pole, it does not seem likely to stir a man's soul. It is the deeds that were done neath the moth-eaten rag, when the pole was a staff and the rag was a flag." mass bands will get back into position, and next we will see the parade marching past in slow and quick time.
Escort to the left. Relax.
Their captain Alan Batson reassuming command of the escort guard.
Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. The parade commander is now preparing the troops to march past in slow and quick time. Please take note that when the Queen's colour passes in front
The
of you,
mass bands were given the opportunity a while ago to display their talent. Now it's the turn of the troops on parade to do their march past in slow and quick time. The guards have just done a right form in order to get into position for the march past. They will be turned about, and then the parade commander will step them off in slow time.
now turned about, face the direction they will easily step off.
The guards will step off to the tune Pageantry, composed by Leo Stanley.
We'll march past in slow and quick time. By the left. Now, march!
The mass band in the center of the parade square, red and white, looking very colorful indeed. There's Sergeant Weatherhead of the Barbados Regiment Band. The Royal Anglians. Now the Barbados Regiment Band. See the buglers of the Royal Anglian Band and the guards prepare to pay their compliments to His Excellency in their march past in slow and quick time. The first guard to pass the saluting dais will be the escort guard led by Captain Alan Batson. There goes the parade commander up front, followed by Captain Batson and his guard. The guards will give an ice right as they approach the saluting dais. The parade commander, the parade second in command, and the officer commanding the escort. The guard is doing a left arm in order to prepare for the march past in slow time. As the escort steps off, the tune being played by the mass band is the chorus of the Hebrew slaves from Nabucco, written by Verdi. To the rear of the escort, the non-commissioned officer wearing the red sash is Company Sergeant Major Williams, who is the right guide. There the guard gives the eyes right. Captain Alan Batson, commander of the guard, and CSM Williams wearing the red sash on the extreme left of the screen. Following the escort is the number 2 guard led by Captain Vernon Gittins, also containing Lieutenant Charles Greenidge and Second Lieutenant Stanley Mears. The right guy wearing the red sash is Color Sergeant David Folks, and the left guide, Company Quartermaster Sergeant Victor Blue. The third guard, led by Captain Hugh Barker, Lieutenant Vernon Leacock, and Second Lieutenant Holder. On the extreme right of the screen, wearing the red sash, is Color Sergeant Dean, the right guide. There goes number 4 guard, comprising members of Commando Squadron of the Barbados Defense Force, led by Captain Sean Reese. Paying their compliments to His Excellency the Governor General, Captain Sean Reese, the center of the screen. He has as his subalterns Lieutenant R. Walker, Lieutenant Neville Martindale. Captain Sean Reese giving the eyes Frank. The receiver in the red sash, the company sergeant major of Commander Squadron, Staff Sergeant Dial. We now have a change of tune. The mass bands are now playing Cavalry Brigade. In a little while the music will stop and the parade commander will break the parade into quick time. There we see the commando squadron guard in form. Commando squadron is the infantry unit of the regular force. Captain Sean Reese, who is commanding the guard today, is the second in command of the squadron. Ceremonial parade of this nature for many of the soldiers of the Barbados Regiment who are on parade this afternoon. Many of them would have passed out within the last 6 or 8 months. When the colour was last put in 1975, Her Majesty the Queen was very impressed with the standard reach, and she was very astonished to learn that the soldiers on parade at that time were all members of the Barbados Regiment, a part-time military force. The parade is now marching in quick time. Wearing the red sash. Command of the escort guard, Captain Alan Bassett. You can see the mounted troop, members of the mounted troop of the Governor General's escort, waiting to escort His Excellency back to Government House. The groundkeepers on parade are at the present position they've been holding for quite some time. All members of the Barbados Cadet Corps. Several of the officers on parade today, including the parade commander, have been members of the Barbados Cadet Corps. And the Cadet Corps continues to supply officers and soldiers to the Barbados Defense Force. Now the guards prepare to march past in quick time to the tune, the hunting call, which is the regimental quick march of the Barbados Regiment. Color Sergeant Williams and Sergeant Felicien of the escort guard. There goes number 2 guard. Wearing the red sashes, Color Sergeant Folk and Sergeant Hope Taylor. These guys have been working very hard in order to produce the standard which they are producing today. The rehearsals have been affected greatly by the bad weather that we've been experiencing recently. But they're surely making a very good effort here today, in spite of the obstacles. The Commando Squadron Guard, number 4 guard, Staff Sergeant Dial. At the end of the march past in quick time, the band will march back into position in order to prepare for the advance in review order. Here we see the Commando Squadron Guard preparing to do their march past to the tune of the Great Little Army by Kenneth Alford. Here goes the main infantry unit of the regular force. In the rear with the red sashes, Sergeant Edwin Young of Commando Squadron. the extreme left, Sergeant Charlie Haslunds. The march past has now been completed, and the parade will prepare for the advance in review order. There's His Excellency the Governor General, the Chief of Staff of the Barbados Defence Force, and the Commissioner of Police. Witnessing a very important parade in the history of the Barbados Regiment and